Over the course of this series, we've spent a lot of time making sure the overworld is as fleshed out and as beautiful as possible, but I think it's time to spice things up and travel to another dimension, the Nether. This is one you guys have been requesting for ages, and I've been really looking forward to starting this one. Because of recent updates, of course, there's so much content in this biome, and I think a lot of the biomes within the Nether are some of the most interesting looking biomes in the entire game. Let's get building this thing. To start out with though, we're gonna keep it pretty basic and stick to the default Nether look that we're all familiar with, the Nether Wastes. I'll be utilizing dark red for netherrack and orange up in the top left for lava. The module, of course, is gonna be what has become standard, the 16 by 32 studs or 8 by 16 blocks in the game. I want to incorporate a lot more functionality into this model than some of the other ones I've had, so I'm actually going to try to make the lava light up. And to do that, I'm going to utilize third-party, I know, ridiculous, lighting here, which is just a small battery-powered fairy light thing that I picked up at clearance at Barnes & Noble years ago. In order to do this, I'm going to painstakingly weave the wire through a network of 1x1 round plates that are transparent so the light can go through them, but this ensures that the lights aren't going to move anywhere and that the bulbs are actually exactly where I want them. To make sure that the light comes through the surface, I'll use a mixture of orange tiles and also trans orange tiles. Gives the lava some texture and looks pretty great. Of course, this will sit one plate lower than a regular block, just so it sinks into the ground just a little bit. The effect in the dark is especially striking. I want to make sure that the battery box is still accessible so I can turn it on and off and switch out the batteries if needed. So I'm going to make a removable platform above it. That does mean that I do have to raise this entire build up quite a bit, which eats up a lot of my sweet dark red bricks. That's something interesting I'm trying with this model, not planning it. You see, I'm not really sure how much dark red I have on hand. With things like brown, I know I have enough, but I want to push these bricks as far as they possibly can. And obviously there's a lot of different sizes of bricks. Some of them are more useful than others. Basically, I want to keep building with them until I run out. So this thing could end up really small or quite spectacular. We're hoping for more spectacular than anything else. Of course, we need a nether portal in this build. Another function that I want to add to this one is the ability to turn it on and turn it off. That'll be accomplished using a simple manual sliding mechanism found in the back of the model. Simple though it might be, I think the effect is perfect for a model like this, and something that LEGO has utilized in a lot of their kits as well. So here is the mechanism itself. You'll notice that I found a use for that cursed 1x5, dang it. I hate how useful it is because I hate it. But that's actually in this model. That will slide cleanly into place, so you can see the portal is unlit here, but we still get the frames on each side, and if we slide it over, the portal becomes lit. I want to tuck this mechanism away as best as possible, so it's not too painstakingly obvious, but still easy enough to actually turn on and off. I want limits on each side, so it always locks into the place you want it to be. While I build, I'm trying to incorporate other familiar elements of the Nether, like fire patches all over the place, but also some gold ore, and trying to recreate the really crazy landscape that happens here. I also need to be really resourceful with pieces. You'll see slopes all over the inside of this thing, just to stretch that dark red as far as I possibly can. It's not all that common of a color, unfortunately, which seems to be the case with a lot of these Minecraft colors, except brown. Thank goodness brown is common. Of course, I do need a lava fall on the side as well. I'm gonna make a pretty randomized texture using, again, orange and trans orange, just like I did for the lava pool below. And all the while, I still need to make sure that this section can be lifted off so I can access the battery box underneath. To be totally honest, I'm getting further with my dark red than I thought I could. And the section that I have to lift off to get access to the battery box is becoming quite obnoxious, and I keep finding myself accidentally attaching it to the main part of the model quite frequently. So we've made pretty good progress. We've got a lot of height on this model. I'm at a point where I'm ready to tile off that and call it a day. I've left a little plateau on top so we can have all sorts of mobs. And of course, I had to capture that wonderful part, the tiling process, which is just so satisfying to see and even more satisfying to do for models like these. In fact, the only parts that I really purchased specifically for this was a bunch of 2x2 tiles in dark red from LEGO Pick-a-Brick. Beautiful. Let's populate this thing with some mobs. Of course, we have zombie pigmen, and I gotta put in that baby zombie pigman. I'm also going to add some mushrooms, which is just a regular dark tan disc on top of 2 white pips. Blaze, of course, belongs in this model, and I do have a couple piglins as well, so those are going to end up here too. If I'm being completely honest though, something feels off about this model. It doesn't feel finished. One change that I really feel is necessary is to make a door to access that battery box instead of ripping the model in half to access it. And so it was back to the drawing board as I ripped out that section and decided to implement a hinged door in the back to reach it. This would just make it so much cleaner and easier to access, and the process of turning on the lava was no longer a nightmare. Even if it took a lot of work to implement, I totally think it was worth it. That being said, that wasn't what was going to fix this model for me. I felt like this needed just a little bit more verticality. And because of the changes I made to the door in the back of the model, I had freed up some more dark red. Small and silly though the idea of a change like this might seem, I think the effect was quite drastic. It also allowed me to incorporate some quartz which had otherwise been missing from the model. Another thing that I had been missing was glowstone, which is just a crazy combination of tan, glow-in-the-dark pips, and trans yellow. It's an ugly block in the game, very noisy, and I think this recreates that effect pretty well. The addition of the new height, I think, quite literally doubled the value of this model, even though it did not double the height. It just feels more like this environment that I was trying to recreate. It's more immersive, taller, it feels more imposing. And that's exactly what I want out of this rather frightening biome. And here's that door in the back. So much easier to turn this thing on and off. So that's it. What do you think of adding more functionality to these models? What do you think of pursuing this nether display a little more? I definitely have plans for a warped forest, but I'd be curious to hear what you think should be added to the nether display next. Of course, there is that wonderful new summer set that brings a lot of new nether mobs into LEGO form for the first time. I'm looking forward to incorporating those into this separate nether display. Episode 9 is not yet determined. I've left a poll in my community tab that I encourage you to vote on. Let me know which one you want to see specifically for episode 9. And don't worry, all of them will be built at some point. As always, have a great life. I'll see you next time.